We went through a little bit of a problem with Paul regarding the Judas Priest tour, because he was quoted in saying a couple of things that upset Judas Priest, and we were due to go on tour with them, so it sort of like caused a bit of a friction even before we started the tour, and which we tried to iron out and get sorted out. At the end of the day, I thought any band that Maiden played with, they were just going to blow them off, because the audience and also the number of fans that they were getting every week just grew and grew. So they were getting more and more popular, more people wanting to get into Maiden, and it wasn't until we went abroad with the Kiss tour that I never realised that, you know, the cult following that Maiden had in Italy or, you know, Germany and places like this, because we'd only been stuck in England working on the album and then out on tour. So, you know, you're sort of like you're blind to what's going on in the outside world because you're so busy doing something here. I remember pulling up to gigs abroad and with the Kiss tour, and there'd be all fans outside with all Iron Maiden t-shirts on, and I'd look out and think, you know, Jesus, you know, and it was growing quicker and quicker. And I think that's where they really made an impact, because the Kiss tour, when you play with a big band like Kiss, we were going on and we were holding our own against them. They had all the special effects, but there was so many followers, supporters for Maiden that made the job easier. You know, they weren't only there to see the main band. I felt personally that Paul was great for Maiden at a certain stage. You know, there was probably a lot of kids out there that preferred Paul's voice to Bruce's or anyone else. But me personally, I've always said to Rod Smallwood and to Steve Harris that if you're going to compete against American bands, you know, your Ronnie James Dio and your Dave Lee Roths and Sammy Hagers of the world, the voice has got to be up there. It's got to be up there with the best, with your Robert Plants. Paul struggled with the range, although he suited the band at an early stage. I also felt that Paul struggled slightly with his stage presence in communicating with a crowd. You know, when you've got them in the palm of your hand, they can eat out your hand, but Paul, he just needed to sort of like gel a little bit with the audience. And I remember Bruce Dickinson saying to me, funny enough, in the ship at Wardour Street again, that he had been approached by the band, and I said, you know, perfect, because his vibrato, his range would compete against anyone in the world. So that was the next stage, you know. But regarding myself, at the time before the Kiss tour and during the Kiss tour, my contribution, I just thought, was they wanted someone in with experience of recording and guitars and backing vocals. That's my contribution to that. I can't really add any more to that. That's what I did. It comes natural. I prefer working live rather than recording in the studio. Live on stage, I loved it because it was so electric. The crowd are with you. Everyone's running around like lunatics, and that's the showmanship of the show. We were having such a laugh that the gig was the last thing on your mind. We go into a show, into a big hall, sort of like the Cambridge Corn Exchange or something like that, and there's like a photo machine where you get passport photos. And when we've turned up for the sound check, the road crew had taken off all the front of the photograph and taken out all the models' photos, and the whole road crew, all their little photos was in the frame. I remember that more than I did the gig, because that was funny, you know what I mean? So it's just, you're just having a laugh all the time, that you don't actually remember much about the gig. It was like, you knew you had to do the gig. The gigs were always great, but because they were repetitive, you're doing it every night, it's the during the day and the fun times. That's what you remember. You know, so it's hard to sort of concentrate on one or two shows that you can remember. You know.